It's March 16th, 2022, and all is not well with the world. The question I want to look at for the next few minutes is, does the United States president have anything to do with world events? Is there any connection between who the president is in the United States and world events? Or does everything just unfold regardless of who is president in the United States? I think the president of the United States, the president is not only the most important person in our country, but he's the most important person in the world, because crazies around the world are watching to see who's the president and see if they can get away with some of their shenanigans. Well, welcome to Tim's Challenge. I'm Tim, and I will be your challenger for today. The German philosopher Hegel said something that's pretty sombering. Sombering, is that a word? He said, the one thing we learn from history is that we don't learn from history. So if you are a parent, teach your children. If you are a grandparent, teach your grandchildren. If you are a Sunday school teacher, if you are a pastor, teach your people to learn from history. I don't think the public schools are really gonna do it. So we have to do it. And let this be the first generation that learns from history. Now, what I want to do is go down, it's kind of like a history lesson. But if you love history, you're going to find this very interesting, I think. If you hate history, you're probably going to want to just go away somewhere. Well, I think you'll find this interesting, though. Let's go back to World War I. And what we're going to do, we're going to take each conflict all the way back to World War I to the present, and see who the sitting president was in the United States at the time that aggression and that war started. Now, I'm not saying that the president in question started the war. For instance, I'm not saying that Woodrow Wilson did something that sparked World War I. But I think we'll pick up an interesting pattern here as we go through it. World War I started under the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, who was a liberal Democrat president. And by the way, he was just a crappy person. He hated blacks, he hated women. And I know World War I started in Europe, but it's just kind of coincidental as we go through this. We'll see a pattern. The next conflict obviously was World War II. Who was president when World War II started? A liberal Democrat president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. A lot of people don't know that Roosevelt was not only a liberal, he loved fascism. He loved Benito Mussolini. He wanted to bring Italian-style fascism to the United States as a nice replacement for our Constitution and our system over here. And he had a lot of henchmen that would have helped him do that. Fortunately, they failed. His successor was a liberal Democrat named Harry Truman. Under Truman, the Cold War started. And the Korean War started. Are you picking up a pattern yet? I guess the next one would be Vietnam. Now, the Vietnam conflict started while a conservative Republican was president, namely Dwight D. Eisenhower. But he was sending advisors over there and did not want to become involved militarily. And that was the same opinion as a Democrat that followed him, John F. Kennedy, who was a conservative Democrat. So they were sending advisors over, but you know who got us into the war? A liberal Democrat president, Lyndon Baines Johnson. In April of 1965, he sent troops in, got us into the war. Now that's a case where the president specifically did something that got us into war. A lot of people agree with me. I think Lyndon Johnson was the worst president we have ever had. So there's Vietnam. I guess the next one, of course, we could talk about the Great Recession years, of the Carter years. A liberal Democrat named Jimmy Carter had horrible, horrible times in the 70s because of his economic policies and foreign policies. And yes, Iran did rattle its sabers. under Carter. Didn't exactly have a war, but aggression was beginning to be around the world under Carter. And I guess the next one would be the Gulf War and 9/11 and the war in Iraq. Under Republicans this time, but weak and wishy-washy Republicans. I don't think you're going to place H.G. Bush and George W. Bush near the top of your great president list. Am I right? So maybe it has more to do with not just the party of the president, but just how weak a leader that president is perceived to be. And then we fast forward to Barack Obama, the onslaught of ISIS, countries all over the world rattling its sabers. ISIS, Putin attacked and took over the Crimean Peninsula under Barack Obama, a liberal Democrat president. And now we have Putin rattling his sabers again, attacking the largest country in Europe, Ukraine. This is pretty scary because he could very easily go on to Moldavia, Poland, and try to reestablish the Soviet Union under a liberal, in fact, extremely left-wing United States President Joe Biden. Now, let me ask you a question. When do you think Putin decided he wanted to attack countries? Well, it was a long time ago. So he's able to do it under Obama, a weak left-wing Democrat president. But then something happened. Donald Trump was elected president, and we had a bulldog in the White House. We had world peace for those few years. Then we elected Joe Biden, and that's when the sabers started rattling again. Biden voters, what are you thinking? Learn from history and teach your children. The crazies of the world always mount their shenanigans when there is a weak, usually Democrat, a weak leader in the United States White House. Out of the 15 or so conflicts I just mentioned, 12 of them, 12 out of 15, were started while left-wing Democrat presidents were in the White House. Learn from these things. Teach your children, and let's let this be the first generation that learns from history.